So well-run, successful companies will be the last and last to embrace this. The people that will embrace it will be the ones that have a gun to their head, or they feel their back is against the wall, or they have nothing to lose, or they're desperate, or occasionally you get an inspirational figure. But if the U.S. embraces this as a digital commodity, Hong Kong flips, China flips, Russia flips, everybody flips. And the dominoes are falling pretty rapidly for the past 6 months.
Hey guys, welcome to Everyday Finance. Bitcoin is turning slow, stagnant debt into a high-speed financial opportunity. It's giving greater profits without the typical hazards. The most recent vision comes from Saylor, an expert in strategy. Bitcoin-backed products are providing new energy, whereas traditional bonds have been held back for years by low yields. Institutions are starting to accept Bitcoin as collateral due to the fact that it has a limited quantity and long-term growth that routinely outpaces inflation. This combination of fixed income and cryptocurrency is creating a model for higher returns that does not rely on erratic trading. Saylor contends that those who invest in Bitcoin and use it to turbocharge conventional finance will determine the direction of the future. And that future is coming sooner than most people think. Pay close attention as he discusses the strategy of converting conventional debt into Bitcoin-powered profit engines.
All the second sons of nobles in Europe came to the United States.
It's true.
Why? Because it was hopeless for, or maybe it was the third son or the second or the third. But if you feel like your path to success is blocked, then you get on a ship and you risk your life and you go to the New World. And that's a metaphor. But the people that embrace Bitcoin first are people who either felt that their path to success was blocked by the conventional world or the traditional world, or it was hopeless, or they're staring at a certain death. And so I think that the people that get it first, they're the teenagers, the 20-somethings. Every time I go to a conference full of wealthy people, it's always the sons of the billionaires who know me. Like, I'm very famous with rich kids. All the rich kids in the world know me. All of them. They're like, could you convince my grandma to buy Bitcoin, or my dad? I want you to talk to my dad and explain to him. So it's the 20-somethings, and they're looking for the next thing, or it's the zombie companies, or it's the meta planets. It's like, I had a hotel chain, it's going bankrupt, I'm dead. It's the people that have a terminal illness. So they're all very motivated to open their mind to a new idea. I think that if you're comfortable and happy, you're not. And the problem is, it's a very comfortable life here, right? A lot of Europe is very comfortable that there are beautiful buildings that were built by people 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago. It's like, so there's a lot of beautiful things, a comfortable climate, comfortable everything. You have to be uncomfortable to embrace a new idea, or you have to feel like your path to success is blocked. So well-run, successful companies will be the last and last to embrace this. The people that will embrace it will be the ones that have a gun to their head, or they feel their back is against the wall, or they have nothing to lose, or they're desperate, or occasionally you get an inspirational figure. But no, I think I'm actually pleasantly surprised it's going a bit faster than I had thought. There was one, and then there were two in 2020. And last I checked, there were like 140 or 150 on the Bitcoin standard. And I saw someone say there's 270 crypto public companies that have some kind of crypto on their balance sheet or something. So maybe I'm undercounting. I think I'm undercounting because I'm just discovering some every day that have Bitcoin that I didn't even know about. I think that the inflection point was November 5th of last year. If you had to point to one, this entire industry was waiting to see whether the securities regulators would embrace it, whether the banking regulators would embrace it, whether the commodities regulators would embrace it. And I think we knew the answer. We knew we were going to win in 2020, but it was going to be a long, grinding battle of attrition to win, but we knew we were going to win. But I think after November 5th, it became like a landslide obvious. It's like, okay, the entire government flipped. The Senate's pro-Bitcoin, the House is pro-Bitcoin, the Cabinet's pro-Bitcoin, the head of the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, the healthcare, the Department of Health and Human Services, they're all pro-Bitcoin. All the financial regulators are pro-Bitcoin. And everybody else in the world, every other regulator takes their cues from the US. Even if they claim they don't, even the enemies of the US, the Russians, the Chinese, anybody that's deemed to be a political competitor, they still actually take their cues from the US. So if the US embraces this as a digital commodity, Hong Kong flips, China flips, Russia flips, everybody flips. And the dominoes are falling pretty rapidly for the past 6 months.
Bitcoin is breaking free from the constraints of the cryptocurrency bubble and adopting Wall Street's strategy directly. According to analysts, the number of companies that currently possess Bitcoin is more than 160. The consensus projections predict that prices will be approximately $168,000 by the end of the year, whereas artificial intelligence is the focus of attention in the news. Bitcoin is being seen more and more as a component in the subsequent wave of technological disruption. New frameworks for exchange-traded funds ETFs are being implemented by regulators. Institutional capital is coming in as a result. Bitcoin is undergoing a transformation into financial instruments that provide strong upside potential as well as protection against downside risks, ranging from fixed income strategies to growth portfolios.
I think that the European markets are catching fire. If you look at the results of Blockchain Group or Smarter Web Company or H100, there's just a lot of Bitcoin treasury companies popping up here. There's probably going to be one unicorn, or superstar in every single market that catches fire and grows 100% plus a year, or hyper growth, and then you'll see a dozen other that will follow it. And I think they will do it because the equity capital markets in Europe are moribund and the credit markets in Europe are weaker than the U.S. Right? I mean, the U.S. credit market is 4% interest or 4.20 for a 1-year bond, but in Europe it's like 2.20. So basically, you're not getting any yield if you're a credit investor, and the equity's based upon growth, but all equities valued based upon future expectations of fiat cash flows. And if you're not growing fast, then the equity is going to be weak and illiquid. And the dirty secret is there's 50,000 public companies. The 500 greatest ones are in the S&P 500. Most of them are US based. And then of the 500, 493 of them are failing, and there's 7 that are winning. And so the dirty secret is, out of 50,000 companies, there's the number you can count on one hand or two hands at any given time that are winning, and everybody else is just trying to keep up, right? And how do you win? You need a digital monopoly, right? If you happen to have a digital monopoly and you can sell something to 1 billion people, then you're going to win. And that's what Meta is, and Google and Apple and Microsoft. They're all digital monopolies. They're more powerful than governments, right? And so now, if you're one of the 400 million private companies or one of the 50,000 not digital monopoly monster companies, how do you win? And the answer is you basically merge with a digital monopoly bolted onto your capital structures. You ever see that movie you ever see X-Men, where you see the Wolverine and he starts out as just a normal dude, and then they actually fill him with the adamantium and they give him indestructible exoskeleton, and that makes him the Wolverine? Well, Bitcoin is that. Like, you're this normal dude, and what you want to be is indestructible, super mortal, or superhuman. And I'm telling you, what you do is you basically infuse the capital structure of the company with digital energy or digital capital, and that turns you in, from a $10 million dying hotel company into an $8 billion monster, right? And so I think it's a matter of time before people that realize, like, you can't fly, you don't have laser eyes, you're not indestructible, and Apple and Microsoft are. And your choice is, you can be like one of those. We have this, the mere mortals in the TV series The Boys. You guys see The Boys, where the superheroes are all bad and they actually just beat up on all the mortals. Like, you can either be crushed underfoot by evil superheroes, or you could take Compound V and you become the superhero, or in this case, Compound B, right? So I think it's one of those things where at some point the company says, well, I'm not going to be Apple and Google, and I'm either going to be crushed to death or I'm going to be a superhero. And then Bitcoin comes along and Bitcoin offers to make you a superhero. And so take Compound B, and what happens? You take $50 million, you buy Bitcoin with it, you have a $50 million business growing 60% a year. There's not a single company in Europe growing 60% a year. Right? I don't think there's, well, not that I bet you if we look at all of the companies with a market cap of $1 billion or €1 billion or more in Europe, I would be shocked if there's one that's growing 60% a year. And yet every single company in Europe, if they simply recapitalized to Bitcoin, would be bolting on a company growing 60% a year to whatever size of their balance sheet is. And then once you've done that, the aha moment is now you can issue equity or credit instruments, recycle it back into Bitcoin, and grow 100% a year. And so it's like, do you want to be a mortal, destructible, or do you want to fly with laser eyes and be indestructible? And it's like, you have to take the Compound B. And it may be a little bit scary. It is volatile and it's bubbling. Right? It's orange. You have to drink the orange fluid. But I think it's that simple, really. And it's happening. And what you're seeing is people are like, I want to be a superhero. Why wouldn't you want to be a superhero? I think that Trump realizes that Bitcoin and the crypto industry in general is incredibly powerful politically and economically and technically, and he attributes a fair degree of his political success to the support of the entire community. So they're very enthusiastic. Every cabinet member is enthusiastic. The Trump administration's enthusiastic. They're going to harness it technically and economically, and that will progress. And I think, the Genius Act, the launch of of stable coins, the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, all of those things are indicative. The U.S. went from grudging acceptance of Bitcoin, dragging their heels on everything else, and being fairly indifferent to the opportunity as of a year ago, to enthusiastic embrace of Bitcoin, enthusiastic embrace of all the digital assets industry, and they went to leading the industry, and now they're kind of in the driver's seat. They're probably the most progressive, and other companies or countries are gonna have to keep up. Yeah, sure. It just takes clarity, and it takes conviction, and it takes consensus. The challenge with nation states is they have like 10,000 people on the board of directors, and technically, how many senators, how many Congress persons, how many political actors? So, in my experience, it only takes one member of the board of directors who's a conventional thinker to block the entire company. And so generally, the problem with corporate adoption is one conservative or traditionalist on the board cripples the company. In a country, you have a lot of parties and a lot of concerns about that. So the obvious winning move is if I ran a country and if I had the power, I would print my currency, buy Bitcoin. And after I finished with that, I would borrow money, sovereign debt, I would print debt, and I'd buy Bitcoin. but I don't have a country. It's above my pay grade. And countries have a lot of other dynamics. There are a lot of other political actors. You've got your unions, you've got your political parties, you've got the IMF, the World Bank, you've got the opinions of your neighbors, you've got your opinions of your citizens, you've got your opinions of everybody under the sun in the media. And so I'm not here to tell you what they can do. I'm an idealist. That's what I would do if I could. But neither am I critical. The truth is, there's a million people that don't go 150% all in on Bitcoin, and I don't judge them for it. Maybe they had a reason to not do it, right?
MicroStrategy's equity-driven method magnifies the upside potential of Bitcoin considerably beyond standard debt strategies, especially given that institutional adoption is rising and analysts are predicting that Bitcoin could reach a value of over $150,000 in the near term. Bitcoin, which was once considered a fringe asset, is now covered by Wall Street analysts, included into ET, and referenced more and more often alongside artificial intelligence as a significant technological upheaval. It is particularly tempting in an era of unstable fiat currencies and inflation because of its capped supply and round-the-clock worldwide market. Leveraged trades such as MicroStrategy bring to light how traditional markets are being compelled to take into consideration a future in which Bitcoin might serve as the anchor for the next financial cycle if it continues to follow its historical trajectory.